That's in my view, but anyway, moving on. 1,300 lost votes, a personal vendetta from Clive Palmer, and now news that almost 2,000 people voted multiple times. Well, the 2013 federal poll wasn't exactly the best of times for the Australian Electoral Commission. Tom Rogers, he's now the acting Electoral Commissioner, has been called to explain. The acting Electoral Commissioner fronted Senate estimates last night, revealing 1,979 electors have admitted to voting more than once. But some had more than one vote marked against their name, and it clearly was not an accident.
There are 128 electors who have more than 2 marks recorded beside their names.
How many have 3?
92.
How many have 4?
22.
How many have 5?
4.
And more than 5?
6 marks, there are 6 electors. 7 marks, 1 elector.
Yep.
9 marks, 1 elector.
Yep.
12 marks, 1 elector.
Yep.
And 15 marks, 1 elector.
Who did that?
I don't know what the New South Wales Labor Party's like, but I wouldn't be laughing at that.
Clive Palmer, well known for his disdain of the AEC, which did find that he won his seat of Fairfax by a margin of only 53 votes, used the findings to again stick the boot in, saying the AEC had no way of knowing the extent of the problem.
Yeah, they would know that it was 2,000, 20,000 or 2 million. Of course, none of this could happen if people were required to present their ID. Yeah, you can buy a pharmaceutical. To buy a pharmaceutical in Australia, to board a flight, you need to have ID, but not to exercise your democratic rights to vote in this country.
The Senate committee also heard the by-election for Kevin Rudd's former seat of Griffith will cost taxpayers more than $1 million. And the fresh Senate election in Western Australia will cost in excess of $20 million. Who would have thought that the Electoral Commission could hit the headlines for all the wrong reasons? Well, the shocking failures of the AEC during the 2013 elections bring into question whether voters counted, or whether votes rather counted at the ballot box are actually being counted in the tally room. How safe really is your vote? Joining me now is the chair of the House of Representatives Electoral Affairs Committee, Liberal MP Tony Smith. Mr Smith, thanks for being there. Let's just get a couple of facts, I guess, on the table first. There's no CCTV footage when you go in to vote, correct?
That's right.
And when you go in to vote, there's no signing off of your name or anything with ID attached to that process, correct?
That's correct, yep.
And if you were to vote more than one time, there's no electronic integration between polling booths at the federal level. That's also right?
That is right.
Well, that's a complete debacle, isn't it?
Well, I've long supported having a what you'd call a live electoral roll. I mean, as you know, on election day, you turn up to vote, you get asked your name and address, and the second question you get asked is whether you voted anywhere else,
yep.
And then that's the extent of it.
Well, I know that we have examples of electronic voting overseas. There can be problems there too, but if it's not electronic voting, what about electronic integration, like what we're talking about here, between polling booths? Does that happen anywhere else, at state level or overseas, that have analogous systems to ours?
Yeah, here in the ACT, we've heard they've recently introduced that. So if you go into the polling booth and you have your name crossed off, it is simultaneously, or within a very short period of time, crossed off at all other polling booths. So it would detect a problem very quickly.
All right, well, you're the chair of the Electoral Matters Committee. You'll make a recommendation about things that have to come out of the 2013 election. I know you can't preempt that, but in more general terms, in your opinion, what are some reforms that you would like to see come into play?
I certainly want to discuss the live electoral roll with all the members of the committee, and that's something we're hearing evidence on. We're looking at some of the longer term issues like electronic voting. And I've always been a strong supporter, been on the record as a strong supporter of voter ID. I think that we could do a lot more to address vulnerabilities, really, and I could hear your package from down here in Canberra, and those statistics last night really do point to a vulnerability and the opportunity for fraud at election time. And
just finally, while I've got you there, Tony Smith, can I ask you about the resignation, I suppose, of the AEC Commissioner? Most of us would say it had to come. Here's a speculative question. I don't know if you want to answer it or not. If he hadn't resigned, would the government have sacked him, do you think?
Well, look, I can't speculate on that. I mean, we were due to hear from him and wanted to hear from him. We'll go ahead with our hearing in early March with the acting commissioner because he's running the West Australian election, and we want to receive an assurance on behalf of West Australian voters and taxpayers that they're good to go.
All right, Tony Smith, appreciate you being there. Thanks for your company.
Thanks a lot, Peter.